did you have a couple bad years before you woke up to that reality, or did you see the handwriting on the wall and then make a shift?
I don't know. There's so much opportunity with AI. Um, I think integration it would be my next step for me. And when it comes to building inspections and building estimates, having AI being able to understand what kind of job you're working on and recommend certain parts to go with that job, that would be valuable.
And welcome to the Garage Grit Podcast. I'm your host, Brad Herlock of AA Shop Marketing, a digital marketing company for auto repair shops. And by the way, if you're trying to figure out your next marketing step, then you should hop out to addy.me/jumpstart. That's addi.me/jumpstart. And we'll actually kind of guide you on your next digital marketing step. And see, you need to understand that not all shops need the exact same next step. We look at you, your competitors, and we'll answer specifically for you. But enough of that. Let me actually introduce you to Joshua from Farmington Service and Towing. And, well, Josh, why don't you tell us? I'm sorry, can I call you Josh? Is that all right? Okay. Okay. So if you don't mind, why don't we start with introducing yourself to our audience? Tell us a little bit
Okay.
about you and
Yeah,
your
my
current
shop is
shop
a
size.
pretty small shop. We've only got 5 bays. We've been around since 1984. We started out as just a gas station, small lube place, and then really branched out into towing. We were a huge name in towing as far as getting people here and there. We did a lot of calls from police, impounds, accidents. Really, that was our bread and butter, was towing. And then, the shop just kind of played a community service kind of role. And then, in the 2010s, things kind of shifted. The industry changed, towing at least. It got really saturated, and suddenly costs were so high and the sales weren't matching or even worth it. So we changed our business model. We poured a lot more into investing in the shop side for training, tools, equipment, marketing. Um, in fact, we didn't have a deal of our invoices and stuff were done by hand, pencil and paper, calling parts stores, right? And then calling the customer, and none of it was digital. Um, so we entered the modern age in 2013, and it's been not without its challenges, but there's also a lot of joy because you look back and you remember, like, how the heck did I make it through that?
Right.
And so my dad, he was the one that came down here in '84, and I worked with him as a teenager from age 13 to 18, off and on,
Okay.
and just kind of goofed around, right? But
Yeah.
I've been
Now wait. So
managing.
you were part of the towing company and the community service type of the service shop at that point. That's what you were doing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So
And
I
then
was working with seasoned
yeah.
technicians, just doing oil
Mhm.
changes and cleaning the shop as a kid.
Right. Yep.
But then, as with the industry changed, we had to change our business model. And that's when I came back in a more of a general manager situation, service advisor. And that's where I've been for the last 14 years. So
Okay. Are you the primary or only service advisor?
I am the primary only service advisor.
Okay. All right. And do you see yourself hiring an additional person in that regard, or you're a good fit for that
Yeah,
role?
eventually. I mean, I understand that at a certain point we'll be busy to where I am a bottleneck, where if I have to write checks and I have to bring in invoices and order parts and put together the estimates and call the customers and do the marketing and do the accounting, right? All of that is going to just start adding up problems. So eventually, yes, hiring a front counter person to train to be a service advisor is on the deck.
Mm. And that would be your approach. Hire a front counter person and then guide them into that service advisory role.
Yeah, I think I've experienced a lot of different hiring and like new employee situations where You get people in and they've been somewhere else under a certain system for so long. It's really tough to change that. And so while I would love to have somebody that is a seasoned salesperson, I'd rather, have someone that's just genuine, friendly, has integrity, and then I can train them how to do our system.
Okay. All right. That makes perfect sense to me. Because sometimes it's easier to train someone new than it is to teach a old dog tricks or something like that. What's the expression? I mean, y-
Yeah, I think that's it.
yeah. So what caused like the in 2000 and the early 2000s, you were saying about how the towing business was tanking because of market saturation and a couple other factors. Did you have a couple bad years before you woke up to that reality, or did you see the handwriting on the wall and then make a shift? And how long did the shift from towing to primarily repair, how long did that take?
Well, so I mean, we were a really small outfit. We were only using 2 of the 5 bays that we've got.
Okay.
The 3rd and 4th bay were used to store the tow truck. The 5th bay we were renting out to a local company, and because we didn't care. I think the biggest change was um, just my dad getting into his 50s and realizing, well, going from his 40s to his 50s and realizing like I don't want to do this forever. And when we started receiving less and less tow calls, and suddenly our expenses are this much and our sales are just barely enough to cover it, that's when you really have to think, okay, what do I do next? And he was so overwhelmed by all of the different changes that needed to happen. And he's like, I'm older. If I was younger, this would be fine, but I'm older and I don't want to do this. And so the burden of doing everything, right? Writing the tickets, working on the cars, all of it, including towing, and we only had like another guy at the shop. So it was just a 2-man operation. Um, so he went to a seminar, um, and they basically laid it all out for him. And I don't remember if he went to the seminar before he hired me. It had to have been because he came to me. He was really excited. He was like, "I know you're going to school. You're doing this." Because I was going into school for sales, business management, accounting, and just kind of getting my feet wet into the business side of things. And I hadn't really had any interest in the auto repair in my dad's business at all. Since I quit when I was 18, it was never really an option for me. I didn't want to be a mechanic. And so he comes to me with this offer. And at the time, I'm just living, I'm living out of the house. I'm going to school. I'm working like couple part-time jobs doing nothing. And so I'm like, yeah, why not? So I
Do
started
you
down
remember the name
here.
of the conference?
Uh, I think it was sponsored or it was Management Success
Okay.
that did it. And I think they've changed their name to Drive. That's what they are now, I think. I don't remember, but at the time, it was the answer my dad needed. Um, so we digitized, right? We got a separate computer. We downloaded All Data Manage at the time. I basically just started at the very bottom. And we had not only to change like how we kept records and how we put together estimates, we had to change our pricing. We had to change how we interacted with customers. Um, I look back and it's kind of crazy, miraculous crazy that we made it out of those first 2 years.
Okay.
Because there's no other reason behind it. Miracle.
Huh. Okay. Well, I don't know. I think it sounds like you actually were determined to get to the other side of it. So there's something there.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. So um, I'm just processing that a little bit. I'm wondering if what was it? Your dad was actually at the helm of all of those changes, or were you at the helm of those changes, or were you both front and center?
We were both front and center. Um, we both understood that there needed to be a change, and we understood some of the things that needed to change and why. Um, it wasn't necessarily like we were given a list by this company because, frankly, we stopped working with them after a year because it felt like every time we hit a wall and didn't know what to do, it's like modern day paywalls, like pay to win, like microtransactions, if you will. And it got really frustrating. Um, and so we bounced around some other consulting companies. Um, one of them I stuck with for 3 or 4 years, dropped off for a couple, and then went back to them, and I've never left since. But um,
And who's that one that you're
we
with now?
well, they use the RPM toolkit.
Okay.
They it's Shop 4D, and I don't know if I'm able to say that or
It's
not.
fine. Go ahead.
But they first offered web tools to be able to upload sales and look at your numbers and really dive deep into what you could change to become more productive and more efficient. And at the time, I still only had one technician working for me. It was just me and him and my dad part time as the tow operator. Um, but then we just made small changes here and there, just building on the last. And it wasn't, I would say it wasn't until COVID, maybe the year before COVID, that we really felt like we were in a good place. And I mean, 2019 was our best year ever in terms of every
Yeah.
category.
Okay. You haven't
And
matched it
then
since.
no, we've done better since. But up
Okay.
I'm sorry, maybe I should have clarified. From
I
2012 up
misunderstood.
to 2019 was our best year.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. You've grown since. Okay.
Um,
Hmm.
yeah. 2020, we kind of took a step back. 21, we took a step forward. 22, we took a step forward.
Good.
Um, 3 and 4 were kind of plateaued a little.
Okay.
Last year, we've made a lot of different changes again to hopefully break through some of these negative, not necessarily negative, but behaviors and processes and procedures that don't result in anything more than just activity. So,
Okay.
um,
And so Shop 4D, they're are they you're scheduling? They're your scheduler. They're shop management software that you're using, but they're also your coach.
yeah, yeah,
Okay. Good.
yeah.
And and you've been with them for several years, and they've helped you with. Do they have like a library of processes that you, or did you have to write your own?
I mean, uh, I think it's true for a lot of shop softwares is that how you use it is really up to you. They kind of force you into a certain process. Whether they use a DVI or not, whether you can have all of your part sourcing in one place, whether your CRM is integrated into it, like they all kind of force you into what they want you to do, but um, it's what you do outside of the software, right? Like it can tell you what your average RO is, and it can tell you if you're being profitable, but are you being efficient? How do you be more efficient? Um, So, I mean, software can do a lot of like data logging, but in terms of teaching, yeah, that requires other sources. So,
And how often do you get to meet with your coach?
um, so I have a pretty unique relationship with this company. Um, I coach with I coach with two leaders in the company. I talk to them every 2 weeks on a one-to-one. They have a team of people that I mean, they have a tech support for their software. I, I can literally text or call or reach out to anybody in that company anytime that I have problems. And they're kind of built on the same foundation that I want my business to be, and that is they hire genuine, caring, high integrity people, and they
Right.
train them in their processes, and they are superstars.
Nice. Nice. So that's a good formula in general, is to have that integrity mindset first. I hear that echoed on a lot of different episodes and a lot of different people and conversations I've had. So you can train the people, but if they to do a particular task, but if they don't have the principles in place or the personality for the role, then it becomes more difficult. It's hard to teach personality.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
Yeah, you can't
um,
teach. Yeah.
so how you're doing them? You're using them for DVIs. Do they also have a red, white, a red, yellow, and green type code setup, or what are their DVI system look like?
It's a lot like everyone else's. I mean, the only other one that I have a lot of experience in is All Data Manage, and that was before they had their DVI set up. Um, it's really a truly unique software. It seamlessly with both communication and how the software is set up. It just allows the service advisors, the technicians, and the clients, frankly, to be able to make and view and change the estimate, the inspection report. Not necessarily the client getting to change it, but to be able to view it and to provide that kind of transparency. Um, it the connection between the service writer and the technician is, I mean, it's 100%.
Because it's easy for them to communicate back and forth. Do you guys
Yeah.
have? So I've come across shops who are like, no, I won't let my technicians have their own phones. I give them iPads, and have other shops who say, hey, here's a phone. Use your own phone for the DVIs. What do you do? What's your rule on that?
I used to give them iPads. Um, this was back in 2019, and I spent a couple $100 to get some good tablets that Wi-Fi connected and that could be reliable to run the web software. But I also like to listen to my guys. And one of them, when he came in, he was like, I hate the tablet. I hate it. And I was like, okay. And, well, he felt like he could take better pictures with his phone and then using some sort of synchronizing his pictures he can upload to his laptop, and then he can upload them to the inspection report, and then he can type up his inspection report on his laptop. And at first I was like, I don't know if I want you to bring your own stuff in, but then just like everything else, we developed a policy and we had everybody sign it, right? You bring your own stuff, you're responsible for it. The shop is not responsible for it. Um, and because of that, everybody else kind of followed that pattern to do what's best for them, to how they can write things up easily and quickly.
So the iPads are available, but they're allowed to use their phones if they want to use their phones. But what about text messages and interruptions from family and friends during work hours?
Um, so phone use is pretty prohibited. The guys understand that, if they're not working, they're not making money, right? So if they want to be on their phone and they don't want to make any money, right, then that's on them. And their numbers will show it. Yeah, so my main technicians are on flat rate. My lube technicians are on an hourly with commission setup. Um, but yeah, they all know if you're on your phone, then you must not have something to do. Um, and when it comes to phone calls from like family members and stuff, um, I trust these guys. There have been people in the past that I haven't trusted, and every time I turn around, they're on their phone. And I can't be like the teacher in sixth grade and be like, "Give me your phone, you'll get it at the end of your shift." That's an interruption of someone's rights there. Um, but I can say, let's go take a look at your numbers. I want to see, let's see what would happen if you built one more hour, right? If you were able to focus and build one more hour, what would that look like in a week or in a month or in a year? And, for somebody making $30 to $40 an hour, if you're billing one more hour a day, what is that, $150 a week, right? Times
That's
52.
interesting. So instead of being,
It's a
yeah,
lot
instead
of
of
money.
actually being admonish them, instead of admonishing them, you're actually showing them what they're losing. You're flipping it
Yeah.
around. That's really an interesting approach. I like that.
Well, you have to. I have a couple of children who are on the spectrum and who have autism. And I these kids are strong-willed to the point where consequences, like punishments, don't matter to them. Like, you could punish me and I still won't care. And as a father, growing up in the generation I did, I would never backtalk my parents. I know if I did, I was in really big trouble. Um, and my kids don't fear that, right? Natural consequences on the other side, on the other end, like if they don't brush their teeth, they're going to get cavities and then they don't get dessert anymore. Like, that's a natural consequence. But when you give them something to work towards, something that they can get excited about, then it's not like, "Hey, I need you to brush your teeth or you're going to get cavities." It's, "I need you to brush your teeth so that we can get ice cream tomorrow night after dinner." Right? It's something that they earn, a reward, rather than a punishment. And so this is something that I've learned at home and, working with my coaches, is that these guys, if they're on flat rate, if you're how do you punish somebody at work who makes flat rate, right? You can't take money away from them, but you can show them that they're losing their own money by wasting time. I had a guy that every hour would spend 11 minutes on a smoke break. 11 minutes. It never failed. Because I timed him time. I was like, I want to know how many smoke breaks he goes on and how long he takes. And this gentleman doesn't work for me anymore, but I took that information to him and I was like, "Hey, what do you think would happen if you had an extra 77 minutes a day?" I'd get a lot done. Like, I'd make another hour worth of money. And I was like, "Yeah, I agree. That's what you're doing to yourself by sitting over there smoking and looking at your phone every hour." And it didn't go as well as I had hoped for. And eventually we decided to part ways. Neither the environment nor he really worked for each other, and so we parted ways. But that's they're in charge of their
How
paychecks. They're
long?
in charge of their raises. So
How long
how
did
long
that
you?
take? From the
What do you
point where
mean?
you had the conversation, hey, you're missing out.
Um, Probably about 3 weeks.
Okay.
3 weeks, and he was gone after we
In
had
that
that
3 weeks, did it
conversation.
drag anyone else down?
Yeah, Yeah, he did. He was a really negative influence on the shop, and the problem was he wouldn't come to me about problems. He would just complain about them
Mm,
to the other technicians. And I learned about it. I talked to him about it, and I said, "Hey, I I understand. Like bad things are going to happen here. We work in an environment where like one broken bolt
things
is going to
break.
ruin a whole job. Yes, and
Right.
like if you're new here and you don't like how I do things, like let's find some way to work together." And I have other technicians that I've gotten into heated arguments with where I'm like fired up. But then, an hour later, we're coming back together and we're like, okay, sorry that got so hot. How can we fix this? Like, what can we do so this doesn't happen again? And so I think it was all, you know, I- if he had if he had changed his perspective or tried to adopt what I was trying to teach, maybe things would have been different. But you never know. But like I said, I try to find a certain type of person, and then we
Hmm.
train them through the process. So
Right. Right. Okay. And your next hire is that front desk person, or are you going to be? Or would you have the opportunity to add more technicians?
so I've 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 done more interviewing in the last 12 months than I did the previous 10 years. Um, well, I've just finally understood the concept of capacity and how to utilize a lube bay effectively to help the other technicians. And so, last summer I was trying to get a third full time tech. Ideally, I wanted an A technician, and had a lot of interviews, and I hired two guys over a 6 month period that didn't quite live up to what they said during their interviews or during their resumes. Right. Um, I hired three lube techs. One I had to let go. He was so young. I just said, you got to get more experience under your belt before we can go forward. Like life experience. It's something I can't teach you here. And a really great kid. Um, and then the other one, he's stuck around. The third one, he's stuck around. So I don't know if I necessarily need to hire another full-time technician at this point. We're not really at capacity, but I know once May, June, July start rolling around, um, I'm going to need someone up front. I'm going to need somebody to answer phones so that I can help the guys bill as many hours as possible.
I see. Right. So it's not a matter of adding another technician. It definitely is going to be that front desk person, so that you can be that guy in the back that's making it all happen. Another lube tech wouldn't make that fill that gap.
I mean, maybe, I'm not necessarily talking about working on the cars. I have done that before. Um, but I found that when I'm in the back working on the cars, the front office suffers. Um, I'm not spending the time I should with clients talking about their cars and their concerns. Um, I'm I'm more annoyed by the phone than excited by another opportunity to talk to somebody, right? And that kind of that'll segue into like what we've changed with our phone system recently too. But another lube tech probably wouldn't make a difference. I need somebody to help with the gatekeeping, right? Someone that can check a client in, so that I can be on the phone with a different client, walking them through their options. Um, that's what I need. So I may hire another full-time tech in the summer. It just depends on how things shake out. But hopefully before May, I can have a front counter person up front being trained and not necessarily writing service yet, but at least being able to greet customers, check them in, check them out, answer the phones, be kind, friendly, genuine, that kind of person I'm
Mm-hmm.
looking for.
Okay. And so many people have been on this show saying things like, they hire from the hospitality industry. Do you have that opportunity? Just start going out to eat every single week. See if you can find a really great
Yeah,
server.
yeah. Well, I don't know. I can see why those people would be sought after. Um, it's interesting because last summer I was also interviewing for front counter service advisor. And I had a lot of people, I had a few people that applied that are in the health industry, healthcare. So they are nurses or phlebotomists or um, in one way or another in healthcare. But I'm talking to them, getting to know them, putting them in hypothetical situations, and I'm just thinking to myself, this person, I don't want this person at the front counter.
Why
Like
not?
I just a gut feeling.
Okay.
Like they're,
So it wasn't
you know,
by and large, it was that these particular people. Okay.
yeah. And
Make them fit. That's fine.
I probably interviewed 2 dozen people on the phone, maybe 5 or 6 in-person interviews, and I didn't hire any of them. I just never felt like I would be comfortable training you to be the face of my business right now. Um, because it's not because I want to let go. It's because, you know, the way that people answer and put themselves forward during an interview should be their best, right? That's how I was always taught. You show up to an interview like you're presenting your best version of yourself.
That's right. Game on.
And I was really surprised to see that, these people that I'm inviting in for an in-person interview, um, are showing up in jeans and t-shirts or tank tops. And, even the women are showing up like they're going to go hang out with friends, not like they're going to an interview. And,
So what would you expect them to wear though? I mean, like a suit and tie would be an overkill for an auto repair shop or most modern jobs today, unless you're a
yeah,
banker.
I mean, I would like to see the ability to not necessarily doll up, dress up like you're going out with to dance or to a fancy restaurant, but not like you're going to go hang out at your friend's house in the basement, right?
Okay.
Like you're not
Like,
part of that '70s show. You should be showing up with a nice apparel, you
so
know.
you think like a golf shirt or a business casual is what you're
Yeah,
saying?
yeah, absolutely. Business casual at the least. So,
Okay.
yeah,
Now I'm not even wearing a collared shirt today. You are. You're actually in a uniform. Our logo is actually on my T-shirt, but it's still a T-shirt. But you would say that even this would not be enough. This would be. It's too casual. You'd want a collared shirt, probably a hair comb. It's your best day. It doesn't mean you have to dress that way every day, but it's your best foot forward.
right. And if your best foot forward is you got to my shop wearing what you did, then I don't know if I can trust you with my customers if that's your best. You know,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
like
All right.
I'm not
I can
perfect.
appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm not perfect, but I want my customers to be treated like like family, right? Like I'm putting together an
And
estimate
so,
for a family member.
mm-hmm. And so appearance matters. As far as how you present yourself, right? But how do those people how do they make you feel while they were talking with you? The ones that you turned down.
Honestly, I just couldn't believe what they were saying. When they'd answer questions, on the phone, it was easy to kind of like imagine, materialize this person with the voice and their answers. You're like, okay, I know who you are. But then they show up, and reality is can be so much more disappointing. And I try not to let those expectations, I try to stick to what their answers were, right? But again, you show up like that, and I don't trust your answers. I don't believe your answers, right? We're talking about meaningful experiences with clients. Like, give me an example of a really meaningful experience, and why this is something that should have been more commonplace and not just a one-time thing. And so being given these stories, and I'm not really feeling it, right? Because I'm not being told by this person that describes themselves on the phone interview. I'm being given this description by somebody sitting in front of me, and it does not match what you said you were going to do or what you were going to be. I don't know. I
Okay.
don't know. Maybe I'm a little old fashioned in that regard, but
Oh, and there's nothing wrong with it. That's perfectly fine. And sometimes you just got to trust your gut. And other times you got to get out of the way of your own instincts, right? Like
yeah,
I know that I got my own hangups, for example, and I'm just like, okay, I recognize these are my issues, and I need to step outside and make sure that this gets done. And so I'm kind of curious, do you have are you just going to go back to the same methods that you used last year to try to find this person?
no, no. I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to go about it. I've used websites like Indeed and ZipRecruiter.
Hmm.
Um, it just feels like you're getting the same person over and over again.
Yeah.
Um,
You
and
might be actually just under different names.
yeah,
It's
you just
possible.
never know. You never know.
Okay.
And so one thing that I've learned is that, you know, you cannot, was I fair in like releasing all five of these people and not hiring them? I would say with at least two of them, yes, it was fair that the way that they described who they are and what they do on the phone, and then when they come in,
Didn't match.
they didn't match.
Yep.
The other three were probably just gut feelings, right?
Okay.
One of them I really liked. It was a gal that had been in the healthcare industry, and she didn't. She did dress a little bit nicer. She was
Okay.
very polite, um, very repetitive of her answers from the phone interview. And
Okay.
so, it was kind of like, okay, is this consistency or is this memorization? um,
Mm. Okay.
but I think the reason I didn't hire her, um, I don't know. I can't explain it. I live my life, especially more recently, in a way to try to spread light in the world. Um, and it's what I learned last year interviewing all these people, is that there are varying degrees of light. And I just never fully felt that any one of those people were going to help my business become brighter. Um,
Okay.
and that's the best way I can think of to explain that gut feeling.
I mean,
It
the
is
reality is people who are calling your shop, they're not necessarily excited about their current situation. I mean, maybe hopefully they're proactively maintaining their cars, but that's not always going to be the case. And so you need to have somebody who is going to be able to kind of help them uh, help them bridge that that feeling, that emotional drain. I don't know how else to say it, right? I mean, it's a trying. Okay. All right. So we've got to put a pin in that one. We have not solved that issue, and we're still going to have to come back to it, and maybe your coaches have some ideas on how you can kind of approach it this time around. I guess you could potentially just use an outsourced hiring agency and just say, "This is what I'm looking for," but you're going to be so disconnected from it, you might end up being even more disappointed. So that could be a challenge. But you mentioned that you're not always excited to answer the phones, and so you've adjusted your phone system a certain way to help with that. Did I catch that correctly?
Yes, yeah, and that was another part of, if I'm busy out working on cars, I can't answer the phone or I don't have time for the phone. I mean, we were getting a lot of calls every day, and it's mostly for the same things, right? People are calling about towing, they're calling about emissions testing, they're calling for repairs. I need an appointment. I want an oil change. I get a lot of spam calls, get a lot of those fake marketers that want me to pay for an invoice that's past due that I have no recollection of working with. True story. When I first came and started working for my dad, I had no idea what he was doing for marketing. I paid 3 separate companies that first year, all with the words Yellow Pages something in their company name because I had no idea. So I paid 3 of these companies without any idea. So um, it's hard. And when you get to like 4 o'clock in the afternoon and the phone rings, if I don't recognize the phone number, I don't know if I'm going to answer the phone, right?
Okay. Okay.
If it's not a local number, I don't know if I'm going to answer the phone.
Hey, even
So
then, I mean, there's plenty of systems out there that allow marketing companies or sales companies to just use a local phone number that's available.
yes, they do. So I don't remember if it was, social media is so intuitive and it kind of freaks me out because I I swear I'm telling this company not to track me, not to listen. Yet I'll be jumping on reels and suddenly there's an ad for something I literally have been talking about with other people without even online. I'm not even talking about it online. I'm not even searching
Yeah,
for it online.
there
It's
there are apps on your phone. There are absolutely
yeah,
apps on your phone that are listening to what you're saying and retrieving that and then selling that data for marketing purposes. That's happening.
yes,
And unless you've got those settings dialed in, and even then, I don't know, but unless you got those settings dialed in or you don't have those apps on your phone, then that is happening. So
yeah,
that
it's
doesn't surprise
reality.
me at all.
So I started getting these little snippet ads for AIs that would answer your phone for you, and that they could answer basic questions. They could basically be a gatekeeper. I've used that word again, but basically a gatekeeper, so that I'm not busied by the telemarketers anymore or answering the same question over and over again. And I'm not saying I don't want to talk to people because yeah, we fix cars, but I'm taking care of people, right? We're keeping them safe. We're giving them reliable transportation. Um, but like I said, by 4 o'clock, I don't want to answer it. So I uh I jumped on with this company and they have an AI that they set up, this agent that when somebody calls in, this program acts like a real person. Will answer the phone, get first and last name. They've already got phone number from caller ID. They're getting information about the vehicle, like what can I help you with on this vehicle. They can even set up appointments, and so I've even taught my AI, like if somebody calls in and wants an emissions test, she'll flat out tell them everything I'm going to tell them, right? She'll give them the whole spiel and tell them to come right in. And
Okay.
normally we see those people within an hour of their phone call. So she does her
And
job very
what
well.
is the name? What is the name of the agent, the AI app that you're using?
It's
Or the
called
AI?
Auto Shop Agents.
Okay.
And I've seen a couple of other ones. I did a demo of another one recently that was specific to auto shops. And this one says auto shop agents, but I mean, it could be built for any kind of industry, frankly. I
Okay.
think the only reason it's even geared towards auto repair is because of what I've put into it, how I've
Okay.
like trained the AI. So,
And
um,
what does that entail? I mean, I think I've actually heard from shops who have tried a similar path and they've had such a negative response to it, such a pushback from their customers and everything. And I wondered whether or not they were going too low cost or if they weren't training the AI for their specific shop.
I think it can be both, right? So
Okay.
if you're not paying for, some more robust features or flexibility to go in there and teach the AI how to handle situations, then yeah, you're going to have people that are going to get really frustrated. And, I have probably one or two 1-star reviews over the last 12 months that specifically mention the AI. And I'll go back and listen to their conversation with the AI. And these are people that just cannot be bothered to wait a few minutes to let somebody else finish speaking, right? So the AI is trying to ask them questions. How can I help you? You're giving them the answer. And then while you're waiting for them to finish how they can help you, you're talking again. So if the consumer doesn't understand they're talking to an AI, they're going to ruin the whole experience for themselves. Um, I also get a ton of compliments about Sarah. That's my AI. I refer to her as Sarah, and that's how she answers the phone. She says, "Hi, thank you for calling Farmington Service. This is Sarah. How can I help you today?" And someone says, "Oh, I need an emissions test." She says, "Great, let's get started. What's your year, make, and model vehicle?" And they'll tell her. And in our state right now, if your vehicle is a 1995 or older, you have to have a different kind of emissions test than the 96 and newer. So I have taught Sarah to tell people who have vehicles that are older than 1996 or 95 and older that they have to go somewhere else. We don't have that equipment here. And she does it. And she does it perfectly. She refers them to the Davis County emissions testing directory to find a 2-speed emissions test shop. Um, I mentioned towing partners. So I don't get any calls about towing anymore either. I have Sarah. So somebody says, I need a tow, or my car's broken down, or, my tire is flat on the highway, or whatever, any kind of roadside assistance lingo. She'll say, don't worry about it. I'm going to transfer you to our towing partner, Winterton Towing, and they're going to take care of you. And then there's a next step where she transfers the phone line, and Winterton, they answer the phone and take care of my customer.
Okay.
It's pretty cool. But
Okay.
like I said,
Okay.
trial and error. You
And do
have
you
to
have
go in
then?
there and listen and change how she reacts.
Yeah. So it's going to take a lot of work up front, even if
Yes.
they're geared towards the auto repair space. It's going to take some work up front. That's just all there is to
Yes.
it.
Yeah.
Now, uh, so like was it a full-time job that first week?
Yeah. I mean, I basically every time someone called in using the AI, it was like I had 2 jobs. I had my first job to take care of them for what they wanted, and my second job was to see how they felt about how they got to me. And I used all of that throughout that first week, throughout that first month. Um, And then every once in a while, if I'd get some sort of comment or complaint, I'd use that. And I would like tell that person, look, I'm sorry you had a really bad experience with Sarah. She's usually very sweet. Um, I'm going to go ahead and make this change so that this doesn't happen to you or anybody else again. And it's minor things, right? It's just minor little things like tone or whether she's actually completing a sentence or not. But I mean, I've even put in like a database of my what do they call those? Like the menu prices. So if someone calls in and says, "Well, I just want an oil change. How much is an oil change?" Sarah, she'll say, "Well, do you use, let me get your vehicle information. Do you use full synthetic or do you use a blend?" And
Do they know
from the
that?
customer, what's that? Well, then maybe they
Customers
don't know. Right.
Yeah.
So they may be like, "Oh, I don't know what oil we use." Then Sarah would be like, "Well, our blend oil change is this. Our full synthetic is this. Just know if your vehicle takes more than 5 quarts, there's going to be a $10 surcharge." And like people make appointments off that, right? They'll say, like, she's like, "Should we set you up with an appointment this week?" And they'll say, "Yeah, let's do it." And so while I'm
Now,
doing
talk to me about
my
that part.
thing,
Hold on, talk real quick. Hold on. Let me jump in. So
okay,
they say yes, and now they're going to schedule it for Thursday at 10 a.m. Or
yeah,
does the customer get to choose when they want it, or does
yeah.
Sarah have access to your shop management software so it knows when you're available?
So this is my only hang up is that I wish that it integrated completely with my software. There are other companies out there that will implement with your software. They're more expensive. I wish I had the money to do it. But in the meantime, I basically keep my dashboard open for my point of sale and for my AI appointments. And so I'm constantly refreshing and going through my tasks. It's probably, I try to do it at least once an hour, maybe once every other hour, just to make sure that if there's somebody that's made an appointment, that I automatically go and put them into my calendar.
Got it.
And I reach
Yeah.
out to them to confirm it.
Did you actually set up any kind of like I don't know guardrails with Sarah to say you can only schedule these type of appointments if the appointments
Yes.
these types of activities, these types of repairs, these types of services,
Yeah.
and then also at certain times of day. So
Yeah.
you do
So
all your
she's not allowed to set up appointments for emissions tests. That's just first come, first serve. And that was one thing that I had a lot of people complain about. Why don't you have appointments for emissions? And it's like, well, that might work, but it doesn't right now. And so she's not allowed to set up appointments for emissions. She's not allowed to set up same day appointments. Um, and that's purely because I don't want people walking in thinking they have an appointment and I have no idea who they are.
right.
Like
I set up
that
an
would be
appointment 5
awful.
minutes ago. I don't understand why you're not ready for me.
Right. So she's not allowed to do it that day.
Yeah.
She's allowed to set up diagnostics. She's allowed to set up oil changes. And that's what's really cool is she'll be like, "Okay, so we need to do a diagnostics on your car. Tell me," like I have her just ask like a basic question, like, "Tell me more about the symptom or about your concern." And so when it comes to me, I have this summarized video or summarized phone call giving me the date it's coming in, their first and last name, their phone number, year, make, and model of vehicle, what they're bringing it in for, and then it's up to me to communicate, verify, clarify, and put it in stone.
Hmm. Now, if
But
somebody wanted
like I
to do something
said,
like this, what kind of budget should they have? I mean, are we talking like $100 a month? Are we talking like $50 a month?
we're probably talking between 200 and 400 a month, depending on how often you use like their messaging. They do charge by the minute. They you can get different packages. And frankly, I would consider this budget like as value as much as it's provide value. And if anybody with auto shop agents listens to this, like, I'm not ragging on the company or the service. It does what it says it's going to do, and it does it for what you pay for it. I mentioned another company. I can't remember what they're called, but the demo I did with them was incredible. It was like Sarah, um, up,
Oh wait, was
yeah,
Sarah your
it
name,
was
or was
like
Sarah the company that made the software? The company that made
they
the
just called
AI,
her
did they call it
Sarah.
Sarah, or did you call it Sarah?
They called her Sarah, and that's just how I kept referring to her. Um, but yeah, there you can buy like expensive AI to manage things with your company, not just with your phones and appointments, but I mean, there's some pretty powerful AI to help you when you're looking for diagnostics, when you're looking for procedures, parts. AI is, I mean, there are lots of forms of it. Not all of it is, out to destroy the human race yet, but there are a lot of
The
there are a lot
operative
of
term there, the
levels.
operative word there is yet. Just want to be very clear. The operative word.
Yeah, and you know what? That's why I call her Sarah, because I want her to know formally here that I love and respect her. I'm grateful for her and all her hard work.
That's great. All right, so uh all right. So it's done by the number of so you don't it's done by the number of minutes it uses, not like a monthly subscription, or maybe there's a monthly subscription plus the minutes. I don't know, but the bottom line is the budget fluctuates based on your usage. So do you primarily use this from like 2 o'clock in the afternoon on, or is this a 24/7 that you call first, you get Sarah all the time?
I use it as 24 hours, especially because of the towing aspect. We
So
were
24. So even when your shop is open, if I call you right now, I first get Sarah.
that's right.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
and you know what? The biggest reason why is I want to be able to spend the time on the phone with real human beings, right? I understand that we work with metal and machines, and they do a lot of thinking, and there's a lot of AI involved there too, but I wanted to be able to free myself up so that when that phone rings, no matter what time it is, I can take a deep breath, answer it, be happy, and treat them with the same courtesy that I would want to be treated.
Well,
Right.
how does someone get through Sarah to get to you?
That's a great question. So I have it set up. If they ask for me specifically, like, you can ask for a manager, you can ask for a representative all day. She's going to say, would you like I can take a message and reach out to the store and have them call you back. Right. But if you know me, right, and you forgot our phone number that reaches me directly, you can be like, "Can I just talk to Josh, please?" And it'll go straight through. And that's a secret that I tell all the customers that come through as much as possible is, I know you found me. I know you came in, you met Sarah. She's very nice. But if you don't want to talk to Sarah, you can call this number instead and you'll get right through to me. Um, because really, it's once you become one of our customers and once you're in our system, I don't want you to have to go through that song and dance every time you need something. That I would be frustrated by that.
Okay. All right. Got it. Have you noticed an abuse of that direct dial setup? Not yet.
No, no, not yet.
But if
There
it
are a
gets
lot
there,
of
you're gonna have to hire
people.
Jane. If it gets there, you're gonna have to hire Jane.
Yeah, two of them.
Right.
um, no, I think that for right now, she serves her purpose and she does it very well. I mean, I went from having dozens of calls where I'd be on the phone with somebody, the other line would ring, and I'd get off the phone and I'd call them back and I'd tell them the exact same thing I just told this person. And, and while I'm on the phone with number two, I got the phone ringing again, and I don't know who that is. Is it a client who has a vehicle here right now? Is it someone on the road that needs a tow truck on their way here? Like, so she does a very good job of sorting and making sure that people, whatever they need, she makes sure that they get the information or they go where they need to get that. So, and that was the purpose, was just making sure that people get
How long have
taken
you been?
care of.
Sure, sure, and also be a better gatekeeper. How many simultaneous calls can she handle? Is there a limit?
I don't
Because
I
there are
don't know.
times, right, when a shop actually is getting in, they get 3 or 4 phone calls all at the same time, right? And all of
Yeah,
a sudden, some of them would go to voicemail. I have to put you on hold. I have to put you on hold. Please hold. Please hold. Like if I would imagine she could handle 4 simultaneous phone calls.
I would think so. I don't think I've ever had,
Let's do a test. Let's get everyone in your shop to all call the number at the
right?
same time. I'll call too. We'll find
That's a
out.
good idea. Well, I do know, so there's another really cool feature to this AI is anybody that's sent to me from Sarah, I know it's come from Sarah because she kind of tells me a little summary at the beginning of the conversation before patching through the client. So I'll answer the phone, Farmington Service, this is Josh, how can I help? And I'll hear Sarah say, John Hanson would like an oil change for his 2016 Dodge Ram. And he'd like to come in today if possible. Or, so and so needs help, would like an estimate on a water pump on their Dodge or their Ford. Um, and so I get a little bit of some information. And so when they answer the phone, I almost have a leg up in the conversation because I'm like, "Oh, I know who that is." Or, okay, so they want an estimate. I need to figure out why they're calling for an estimate and go from there. So it's a little bit of a cheat code, but it's very helpful, especially when you've got a lot going.
Okay, so hold on. So it doesn't come from the same caller ID. So if I speak to Sarah and then I get transferred to you, the only way that you know is Sarah. You hear Sarah's voice because you said you answer the phone the same way, right? Josh from Farmington Service. So that's a shame that it doesn't come from the same caller ID. Because then you could just be like, "Hey, Sarah, how you doing?" But more additionally, now so you don't know necessarily that it is a Sarah or someone calling that direct line, and that's
Right,
why you have to answer it that way. Got it.
right.
Now,
And I
when it
do it
does get
every
passed
time,
through, why do
even
you
with my wife calls.
do? So, I am setting up an AI to handle my wife's calls. No, hold on. So I mean, calls for my wife, not from my wife. How about that?
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
seriously, yeah, right. So anyway, no, in all seriousness, what I was going to ask was, now that you've heard that this person needs an oil change or this estimate or so on and so forth, you don't then do you re-say Josh from Farmington Service, or do you go, Bob, I just spoke with Sarah and I
I,
understand you needed this.
I've entertained both ways, and the hi, this is farming. Thank you for calling Farmington Service. This is Josh. That's the best of the two answers. The better of the two answers. When people are being transferred somewhere, and it's something that I always get frustrated with. It's always like, if you just transferred me, why didn't you tell them what I needed? Right?
Right.
Why do I got to give my whole story again? But
That's annoying.
it
Right.
it
Exactly.
it is, but it's kind of expected now, right? And so um usually they'll be like, "Hey Josh, I got this going on." And I'm not necessarily playing dumb, but I am more prepared for what they're calling for. I'm not I'm not acting dumb for their benefit. It's more, I want to be able to have an actual conversation with them rather than me. I'm a human, but I'm going to pretend like I'm AI and I'm going to tell you what you told her and what you need. And we're just going to take care of this like robots. I want to be able to still have that human connection.
Has Sarah ever gotten it wrong? Like, so you're, again, you're at Farmington Service. This is Josh. Tell me what you've got going on. Oh, hi, Bob. How you doing? All right, you need this, you need this, you need this. How often is his communication with you different from the communication that Sarah passed along?
Um, I would say almost never. That she is pretty and she's a really good listener. And it's incredible because the only thing that she really screws up on is maybe spelling and pronouncement of people's names. Like I gotta go in and retype out the name because she said it correctly, but she did not spell it correctly. And but no, and I think that's why I haven't upgraded to the more expensive is because it's such a great product. It's such a great service. Um, their tech support is available pretty quickly. It's if you've got any kind of tech savvy in your bones, you can figure it out and tailor it for how you want. I mean, I can literally pull up her agent goals on the computer screen and type out like, "Hey Sarah, when somebody calls and says they want to make an appointment today, tell them colon you know parentheses I would love to get you in as quickly as we can. Unfortunately, if you need a same day service, I'll have to transfer you to the store first to check for availability." Right? I can tell her exactly what to say.
See, I got to tell you,
Or
this is where I would get in trouble because I would have told her to say, your best bet is to call yesterday. Do you have a time machine?
right? See, and she can't.
She
You
can't
can
flip a
tell
coin,
her.
can she?
You can tell her exactly what to say, or you can just give her the gist. Like, you know, I want you to treat. I want you to be. You know, I don't want you to be quick in your answers. Like, I want you to speak slowly so that they understand you.
Make it seem like you thought about it before you respond. So you can manage her tone or
Yeah,
its tone. Come on, let's not personify it too much.
yeah,
Its
yeah,
tone to match.
yeah,
Okay. And did you get to choose your voice?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
You can choose male, female. You can choose from a whole bunch of different octaves, and it's crazy the amount of customization you can do.
Okay. All right. That sounds fun. I wonder, I kind of want to go back to the shops that I've heard have had bad experiences to figure out, what exactly they broke on it. But it sounds to me, if I had to guess, they opened it up and then didn't spend that second full-time job that first week training it.
You
And
have to. It's like another employee. And and actually, you know what? Auto Shop Agents names her an AI employee, right? She's not an AI, she's not a program, she's an AI employee. And so you have just like anybody that's going to be at the front counter talking to your customers, you've got to teach this person what it's like to be a front counter person, right? And they can only be as intuitive. I mean, they can be intuitive, but they're only going to be as valuable as you make them, right? So if you don't train them, how valuable is a technician that you if you don't train them or give them the right tools? Like you just
yeah. So the March 2026 panel is going to be about how AI shops are using, I'm sorry, how shops are using AI.
yeah
And your answer is, let's make it easier on me for the phone calls. Let's make it more streamlined for some of the information passing and a resource for documenting the request of the customer. Maybe even scheduling, as you pointed out. What other ways could you see yourself shifting and using AI for your shop?
I think the next step is that integration to my point of sale, to where I don't have to be as on the spot with every single appointment that Sarah makes, that I don't, when I go and look at my tasks, that I'm not having to be like, oh, I got to enter all these into my calendar. They're already there. Um, I I would love for, I don't know, there's so much opportunity with AI. I think integration it would be my next step for me. And when it comes to building inspections and building estimates, having AI being able to understand what kind of job you're working on and recommend certain parts to go with that job, that would be valuable. And I know there are a lot of companies that are trying to work on stuff like that and you know, have partial systems like that already in place. But um, I know that for us, when it comes to putting together a job, if you're doing a tune-up on a six-cylinder Dodge that's been built in the last 15 years, you got to take the intake off to get to three of the spark plugs. And so if you're putting together that estimate, and if you don't know personally that information, you're going to miss out, right? You're going to get the job, and technician's going to say, "Oh, where's my gasket set? I need a gasket set for this." And so AI would be super helpful in that regard, to where it understands, all right, you're working on a Ford 3.5 EcoBoost, and you're going to be doing turbos. So that means I got to find exhaust gaskets, I got to find coolant lines, I got to find oil cooler lines. What else am I going to need? Am I going to need any more gas? Like, that's the kind of thinking that AI should do. Um, I don't know. I think it could go even further on the diagnostics end. On the AI is pretty scary, but it's also very exciting at the same time.
So it's interesting because I'm expecting on the panel for people to talk about how the most common use of the AI is really just an advanced search engine, and that's all they're using it for, is not actually to piece things together or pass information from one system to another, but instead just to ask it questions like, uh, I need to make a presentation, give me an outline. I need to write content for my website, give me a blog. I need to uh, document the process of passing the car from the front counter to the back of the shop. Jot up best practices for this, right? And you didn't bring any of that up. So good for you. Like, your focus was integration and saving time from kind of doing the data management piece of it, right? So you can actually interface with more people. I've got a question. I think people are wondering, listening to this podcast. You talked already about wanting to hire a front counter person. Why not just see what more you can do with Sarah?
I think she is limited by her ability. I mean, she's limited by her
Virtual presence.
non-presence, her physical presence.
She's not going to be able to be actually at
And
the front counter.
right.
Okay.
And
You can have like
I try
a
to balance
console,
that all the
like
time. I'm on the
like
phone with a client, I'm reviewing an
McDonald's
estimate
has
with
for ordering.
them. Yeah, I've thought about that too. Like I said, like, ultimately, I don't want someone who's coming in, who's been sprayed with coolant because their engine overheated on the side of the road, to have to interact with an iPad. That's not my goal. So yes, it would be like having people check in automatically. I'm going to leave that up to, like, cell phone stores and urgent cares and McDonald's, right? Um, I don't want people to have to check themselves in. There's too much information that I need to know. Um, and frankly, it's that human connection again.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
being able
I
to
love
look
the way you
somebody in
added
the
urgent
eye,
cares to that list.
right? Look
I
somebody
mean,
in
like
the
my,
eye,
my leg is just kind of dangling off to the side, but let me do your monitor. Let me check in on an iPad as opposed to a person. And that's kind of
right?
where you're going right now, right? Is
Yeah,
let me look
yeah,
you in the eye. Let me make a connection. Let's treat humans. Let's care
yeah,
for humans, right?
right. Because the vehicle has the symptom, but it's your concern, right?
Right. Right.
It's the customer's concern, the client's concern. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so
Hmm.
yeah, I've thought about all these different ways to make the front counter more effective, more efficient. Um, it's got to be done by a human person in order to keep that human connection intact.
Hmm. Good.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's funny because we've made, I don't know, 40 years worth of movies about what happens when, as a human, you allow technology to take over every aspect of your life. I won't even go to Terminator yet. Okay. Let's go to Wally, right? You've seen Wally, right? The whole earth is
Sorry.
just, you haven't seen
Uh-huh.
Wally?
I'm
Oh,
sorry.
bro. So imagine the whole earth is just garbage. There's so
Okay.
much garbage that this company built this giant space station and took the whole human race up into space to wait for Earth to be cleaned by the robots that were built by this company, right? It's really, there are a lot of undertones, but if you look past it all, it's really cute. But every single human on
You're
that
kind of
ship
freaked out.
is a fat, bloated, lazy. They
There you
are
go.
literally laying back like this. They got a virtual screen right here, and that is their
Yeah.
life on this ship while they wait for the robots
Right.
to clean Earth. Um,
Right.
they lost there's even a point where, because of Wally's showing up on this ship, he causes two of those humans to like come into contact. Their displays fizzle out or whatever, and they're like, hi, like, oh my gosh, another person. And the whole movie is about like a message about environmentalism, but at the same time you look at it and it's like, people let technology take over every aspect of their life. Where's the human
Right. Right.
connection? There is none.
No, it's the meme.
So
Yeah, it's the meme that you have a bunch of like teenagers going out to eat at a restaurant, and all four of them are sitting at the same table, but they're just looking down at their phone.
yeah.
Maybe texting each other, maybe not, but they're looking at their phone. And
Oh, I've been in rooms
I
where
want my son
people
to
are
look up.
like talking to each other on their phones. And I'm like, we're in the same room. Why are you
Right,
texting that
right.
person?
Because they don't know how to communicate otherwise. That's the crazy thing. It's just, it's nuts. It's nuts. And I don't know, maybe I sound like an old man, but no, it's nuts. I want my son to be looking up, not down. And it's a challenge because the entire world, like all of his schooling it's all on a Chromebook, and I don't know.
It's the challenge, but it's very important to me personally and professionally that we just don't lose sight of that. We're not
Yeah.
fixing cars, we're helping people.
Right. I like that a lot. That's true. I think that's a good tone to leave it on too. And Sarah, if you're listening, we're helping people, not fixing cars. And so make sure you work that into your algorithm, and and whatnot. Is that something you had? I'm sorry. I am gonna ask one more question. Is that something you had to teach Sarah?
I could teach her that. Like, this
But
is
you
the
didn't.
kind
You
of
didn't do that.
attitude that I want you to
Okay.
have. Where, like, it's not so much about the car, it's about this person. They're in trouble and they need us. Like, you could put that into her personality.
I didn't know where to
Personality.
get a name. Right,
Yeah.
right. Robotality. All right. Well, no, but it is a good tone to leave on it. We're helping people and with their cars. That's what the people who are listening to this podcast are doing every single day. And thank you for being one of those people. Thanks for being a guest on our show. We've chatted for quite a bit now, and I've got more questions, so I might have to bring you back for another conversation. But in the meantime, thank you for being a part of the Garage Grit. And guys, if you're listening to this episode and you're trying to figure out more with AI, well, like I said, we're about to have another recording. By the time this episode gets launched, that episode will already have been launched. It'll be a panel of people talking about how they're using or how they're not using AI for their shop. And so listen to that episode as well. And if you have more to say or a new idea, you can hop over to addi.me/join panel. That's addi.me/join panel. And then submit your information. We'll have a conversation, see whether or not you're a fit to be a guest on our show. But I'd love to hear from you either way on other ideas. You can also jump out to our Facebook group. All right. So you go out to Facebook, you do a search for Garage Grit, or you go out to our website at aashopmarketing.com and go to resources and then scroll down and then get to the Garage Grit Facebook group. Become a member there. That's just for auto repair shop owners. So we can continue these style of conversations there. If you hear something on the podcast that you kind of want to keep asking about, or you want to actually just, I don't want to be a guest on a panel, but I do have this one comment to make about Sarah. Have at it. Hop on there and do exactly that. I don't know, last but not least, we're doing marketing, obviously, at aashopmarketing.com. We're doing marketing for repair shops. And if you're trying to figure out what your playbook should look like for 2026, we've actually laid that out for you. We had a webinar back in December. We launched it in January, I guess it was. And you can go and listen to that whole framework. We don't do the same exact thing, the exact same way for every single shop, because every single shop's a little bit different. But there is an overarching framework, and you can get that framework. And we talk about how AI plays into marketing, by the way, in that video, in that webinar. And you can get that at addi.me/2026. addi.me/2026. Josh, thank you so much for coming on. And I don't know, keep training Sarah.